Hey everyone, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I'm delighted that you took some time to spend with me today. Hey, today we're going to talk about vocal leadership with Arthur Samuel Joseph. He is the founder and chairman of the Vocal Awareness Institute. He's widely recognized as one of the world's foremost communication strategists and authorities on the human voice. His voice and leadership training programs, Vocal Awareness, teaches communication mastery through a disciplined regimen of specific techniques designed to cultivate an embodied and enhanced leadership presence and personal presence. He's coached Angelina Jolie, Sean Connery, Tony Robbins, Stephen Covey, Jerry Rice, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and many, many more. Today, I'm delighted that Arthur's spending some time with me. So how you doing today, Arthur?
I'm superb, Phil. How are you?
Spectacular, spectacular. So, hey, Jerry Rice, man, that's the greatest wide receiver of all time. I thought he was already super poised. Are you the man behind the 80 or what?
Well, Michael Irvin will make me beg to differ with you.
Ooh.
But whenever I've taught Michael for 20 years, and he said whenever he played against Jerry, he always played better. And because, they're tad competitive, and I want to be the best wide receiver on that field.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Jerry said to me in a lesson one day, I could barely let him get the thought out. He said, Arthur, this is hard. I wouldn't even say the word work. I said, Jerry, you never uttered that phrase in your entire life, because we know what he was in part known for. Nobody's going to outwork this week. I said, you're having a voice lesson, for goodness gracious, and you're saying this is hard work? But what he was referring to is the intensity of the practice, how concentrated the concentration is, all the modalities we're working with at the same time, and it was a new skill set.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know that a lot of people realize how important the voice is to the whole perception of the brand and who they are as people. I know you do. So talk to me about why voice is so... Oh, hold on. Arthur, you got a timeout here. Go for it.
So tell me that again, but I'm going to help you breathe, because off camera you said we got to play. So I'm going to have you breathe slowly before you make that same or a similar statement. And I want you to slow down 100%.
If I slow down 100%, I won't say anything.
In 5, 4, 3, breathing deeper, deeper, and say whatever it is you want to say. But don't exhale it. Don't exhale that breath. Speak on it. In 5, 4, 3, 2, deeper, and begin.
So Arthur, tell me why the voice is such an important part of your personal brand.
Now, tell me, that was really, really excellent, Phil. Really excellent. Underline the words personal brand and see a period at the end of the sentence. In 3, 2, why is it so important to have? But just get to personal brand. In 3, 2, dynamic, and begin.
So why is your voice such an important component of personal brand?
Do you hear or feel any difference? Of course you do.
Yeah, well, it feels weird for sure.
No, but do you not hear that you perhaps are more compelling? If I say to you, it's really, really nice to be on your show today, Phil. You're such high energy, and I really appreciate this platform. Thank you. Versus, Phil, it's really nice to be on your show today. I appreciate your energy and your platform. 1 or 2?
2.
Right. 1 is bogus. We don't know why, but only because it was too fast and too high. We didn't factor that. All we hear is, that's not trustworthy. That's just stuff. The second one, we didn't know that Arthur breathed deeper. He slowed down. His pitch was lower. And he underlined a couple of words. All you got was more authenticity. Am I correct?
I think so, yes.
And so the theme here today is voice is power. And it's so wonderful that you opened up with the concept of personal brand. I look at your website. I look at the websites of all the people tuned in here. Everyone spends thousands of dollars on this. Font, color palette, everything designed to be exactly right with no typos, nothing. Our voice is our brand. Nobody pays any attention. You may have this compelling website, but then you talk and it's like wall to wall. It's just talking so fast, so high. There's nothing compelling about it. This is generic. There's nothing that makes you pay attention. In all verbal communication, Phil, only 8% is language-based. What that means is, for your listeners, only 8% of everything they say in a keynote, in a podcast, is retained by the listener's unconscious mind from the words themselves. 92% is conveyed through the sound of the voice and body language. So I want to interrupt the pattern of the listener. I want to help you embody your brand. So if I ask you, what is the Phil brand?
What is my brand?
Mm-hmm.
It's energy, it's excitement, and it's expertise.
And are you bright?
Yeah, bright is a good word.
Are you passionate?
Absolutely 100%.
Are you integral?
Yes.
Right. So now going forward, if you would write bright, passionate, integral on a piece of paper, please.
Okay.
And also write, hear myself, take my time.
Okay.
And slow my breath down and be big. And just keep that Post-it in your peripheral line of sight during our call, if you wouldn't mind, Phil.
Okay. Bright,
And you
passionate. Okay.
Cool. So am I making sense so far? And just reference the paper before you answer.
Yes.
Cool. Years ago when I used to train Tony Robbins, he would refer to my 7 rituals as pattern interrupts. He would say, to break an old pattern, you have to exaggerate behavior to create a new one. I would disagree many years ago with his basic premise at the time. I said, Tony, we cannot empower anyone. That is arrogant. But we can help them empower themselves. So vocal awareness has a lot of trademarked elements. Communication mastery, empowerment through voice. Voice is power. And when I use the latter, it doesn't mean big, bombastic. No, it means integral. It means trustworthy, genuine. This is a performance. We're being watched. We're being listened to. But we've misconstrued over all these generations. We think these are presentations we're making. That PowerPoint, that keynote, this podcast. However, they are not presentations. What word was just underlined then?
Not.
And you actually saw it, didn't you? So
yes.
It caused you to pay attention in that nanosecond. Oh, what's he going to say next? Subliminally. They are not presentations, they are performances. My last book, Vocal Leadership, 7 Minutes a Day to Communication Mastery, has a glossary of root sources at the back of the book. We look up the word present, presentation. It means to introduce formally, to bring before the public. We look up the word perform, performance, and it literally means to carry out, fulfill, to do. This is a performance, that conference call, that podcast. Anytime someone is watching or listening, we must pay attention not just to the message, but the messenger. In vocal awareness, it is not simply what we say, but how we say it.
Okay. So that makes sense. But how does that make us unique, though? I mean, bright, passionate, integral. I don't know that makes us unique, Arthur. How does that help us be unique?
That's not unique to anybody else. That's only unique to you. So this is how I want to tell my story. What makes me compelling? What makes me tune in to hear what I teach all my anchors and my sports analysts and everybody. I can get my X's and O's anywhere. Years ago, I was teaching, I live in Los Angeles, and I was teaching at the time the #1 female anchor in LA. And after her 6 o'clock broadcast, at 7 o'clock, I was sitting in the room. She came home in between the 6 and the 11. She had TiVo'd her show back in the days of tape and TiVo, and we were watching it. In her hour session, we didn't get past the first 90 seconds. I said, Laura, I don't tune into you because you're a fast news reader. I don't care if the graphic is wrong. I don't care if your prompter went down. I don't want to stay in the kitchen, turn up the volume making dinner. I want to come out of the kitchen because you compel me to, because I want to hear what you have to say to me. So you have to tell me the story in a way that is unique to yourself. I want to morph your extraordinary passion and high energy, which is ostensibly speed-driven, to finding other gears, because I'm just as passionate. I can do it all kinds of different ways. Does that make sense?
That does. That makes a lot of sense.
See, you just listened right then. Now say that again. It does. It makes a lot of sense. And underline one word and see a period.
That does. That makes sense.
Hear the difference? So I want you to be in charge of the message and the messenger. So when you just deliver that simple thought, you noticed you tuned in a little bit, correct?
I did.
Now you have control. It is the word according to Phil. It is the word according to whomever it is sharing their knowledge. I turned 73 years ago, and one of my dear clients and dear friends used to be the EVP of a global company. He now has his own shingle on the door. He left after 21 years, and he's a media consultant now. And he gave me a book. Basketball is his favorite sport. He gave me a book for my birthday called The Audacity of Hoop. And the cover art was a picture of President Obama on the cover in the Oval Office, coat and tie, holding a basketball behind his back. And it's his presidency in his life through the prism of 3-on-3 pickup basketball. And so I asked some NBA clients about playing full court 3-on-3. They said that is an intense sport. So John, in his note to me, said, thank you for introducing me to the audacity of voice. And I said, John, to be audacious, we first have to believe in our own possibility. So I'm always speaking about audacity and the champion. I've trained myriad champions in all walks of life. In sport, in pro football alone, I have my 21st and 22nd students being inducted this August into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I write their Hall of Fame, many of their Hall of Fame speeches, and help them perform them as well. But if you look up the word champion, Phil, it is not sports-centric. It literally means dazzlingly skilled in any field. We look up the word audacious. It means bold, intrepid, courageous, fearlessly daring. So I know you have an audience of single-minded individuals, self-focused on their success, entrepreneurs, etc. I'm here to make a difference. That's an audacious concept. To do that requires this championship mentality. Does this make sense?
Absolutely.
Now, in my book, I speak about hubris. That word, if you look it up, means blaspheming the gods, extreme arrogance, nothing to aspire to. I'm a classical singer by training. I have a master's in voice. My art is what I do now. I still sing pretty well, pretty darn well, actually, but this is what I do throughout the world, around the world. I don't know one artist, one elite athlete, who in the middle of their skill set is not completely self-focused. That athlete is not wondering if the team approves or if the coaches like what they're doing. That artist on the stage does not hope the audience approves. It is hubristic. In that moment, I'm completely focused on my ability to be and do all that I must be and do. But out here, we get all these mixed messages. Oh, Phil, you shouldn't act like that. What will people think? Oh, don't say that. You sound arrogant. So I say to you, Phil, vocal awareness is extraordinary work. It can help you change your life in moments. Now that's stupid and arrogant. But if I say in response, vocal awareness, Phil, is extraordinary work. It can help you change your life in moments. That's not arrogant. It's mind truth. So my work is designed to help you own your truth. Practicing it. Put your speech on video and study it. It's game film. Put your podcast on video and record it. Set your mic up, set your camera up and study it. It's game film. We study every nanosecond of it. Put your recorder in your pocket for your keynote, your PowerPoint, and go back and listen. For that important conference call, ums and ahs abounding. Oh, do I sound anxious? Oh, that sounded really good. I breathed. Oh, listen to that. I'm embodying my brand. We study, we practice, we get better because it is a performance. Am I giving you any pragmatic or helpful tips today?
You are. And that's a very, very different way of thinking about voice, about all that we do.
Yep.
So
I own this space.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So let's shift a little bit, because that's a lot of the work that you do, which I think is super powerful. But there in the notes here, it says, how does gratitude and thanking Source affect the rest of our mastery, the rest of our work?
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Let me double back for one moment. When we were speaking at the top of the show, when you introduced the concept of personal brand, in vocal awareness, we create a persona statement. The root of the word persona literally means through the sound. One's identity is largely conveyed through the sound of a voice, an opinion created in 3 seconds. Ever since you wrote those words from your persona statement on that piece of paper, integral, passionate, etc., you've been consciously tuned in. And you use that little post-it to remind you. Otherwise, we're in the white noise. We're in the behavior. Now you're in the empowerment. And I only want people to know what we want them to know. We don't know there's a piece of paper there. All we get is more effective fill, and that's all we care about. So the persona statement is our brand. This is how I want to be known. So then we measure that against, oh, that audio track, does that sound like this person? If it doesn't, let's adjust. Let's learn how to embody that person. And I don't know if all your audience is as quick and bright and tuned in as you are, but I rarely have somebody get it without knowing what they're doing as quickly and as this is pretty too cool what you're already doing. So you brought up thanking Source. In mastery, all forms of mastery, it is only achieved when you integrate mind, body, spirit. Period. I don't know one athlete, I don't know one artist in the wings who's just visiting and hanging out before they go out and do their thing. They have a ritual. And the ritual never changes, whether it's the baseline, the free throw line, before they walk on the field, before they walk out onto the stage. And the ritual always has a spiritual component. Never changes. So if I ask you, Phil, sit as a man of stature and pulling a thread from literally with your hand, as I will do, from slowly and gracefully from 3 inches below your navel, right up to the top of your head, just like that. And notice the first thing your body does is we pull with your hand, doing what mine's doing. Slowly, That's much too fast. I'm old and slow. I get whiplash. You're going too fast, man. So here we go again. Slow. You ready? Deeper. Embodying a man of stature. Deeper. Deeper. Taller. 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 Hand down, but stay in that position. You notice the first thing the body did was inhale. Chest open. Core is more engaged. Now the sentence after a 5-second silent inhale is, I am an extraordinary man. Notice what I underlined. Breath. And I do extraordinary things, period. In 5, 3, 2, 1.
I'm an extraordinary man, and I do extraordinary things.
Begin to hear and feel a little difference. Now, tell me that again, and watch my eyes do. I'm going to do it twice. Tell me which one you prefer. I am an extraordinary man, or I am an extraordinary man, and I do extraordinary, obviously the second one. So even if nobody sees us, we're on the phone, we're on a podcast without video, the mouth is where the words come from, but the eyes tell the story. So here we go again. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
I am an extraordinary man. I do extraordinary things.
Now you begin here, it's a bit more alive, correct, Phil?
Correct.
Yes. Now, the first of the 7 rituals is to say thank you. We can say thank you. We can be an atheist or an agnostic and just say thank you, acknowledging something outside of our corporeal self. Thank you to God. Thank you to Source. Take in the thought of thank you right now as you choose within yourself, not aloud, and notice the first thing your body does as you say thank you and really embrace the thought. And you inhale, did you not?
Mm-hmm.
And the room is quieter, is it not?
It is.
And you're stiller inside, correct?
I am.
All because you simply said thank you. So these are focus techniques. They're part of what is called in vocal awareness a mastery moment. It's like before the performance. So before I walk into the meeting, before I walk out on the stage, before I get up from my chair, when I need to be in my empowered moment, focused and ready to be myself, not present myself, I engage these rituals to break the pattern. Speech is habit. Nobody thinks about these things except me. So we're changing the paradigm. This is communication mastery. So do you see how these begin to seamlessly all fit together?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I see why Jerry Rice would say, oh, go.
Tell me that again with the breath, please, and see the word underline. You're just testing me. You want to see if I'm paying attention.
All right. So I see why Jerry Rice would say that this is hard work.
You hear the difference and you feel the difference.
Well, and Arthur, it feels uncomfortable.
Yes, but will you listen back to this podcast, by the way, at any point in time?
I will.
Notice how it sounds. Because you'll be stunned. And if any of your listeners want to write in or call in and tell you, we really like what we're experiencing. But equally importantly, Phil, before we had this conversation, you had one gear, and it was work. Now I'm beginning to teach you how I train a lot of motor and supercross champions, and like Ricky Carmichael and others. And I don't know how many gears they have and how they do all the things they do in these little ovals that they ride 150, 60 miles an hour on and more. But they shift in a lot of gears. I've trained 4 Indy 500 champions, and they're shifting a lot of gears. And now you're learning that you've got more than one speed. And that's all I care about, because now you can play. Now we're opening up a whole color palette that was previously not even available to you because you were not aware of it. So my work is called vocal awareness. And awareness is the first step. Does that make sense?
It does. So awareness is the gateway drug to better vocal variety and impact.
Brilliant. I wish I'd said that. And so sociologists have told us, and you've heard this ridiculous saw for years, the greatest fear in society is public speaking. It's completely bogus. But that's the bill of goods we've been fed. The real fear are two fears: fear of abandonment and ownership of our power. Claiming who we are without worrying about what others think. I do not need your permission to be myself. But we walk out on that stage and we immediately feel judged. We were even taught, speak to the last row of the house. What a bunch of garbage. All that does is raise pitch and make you higher and faster. We've taught you got to get to know your audience. Bull. I want to tell you my truth and bond with you through the integrity of what we have to share with one another. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. So
I want to own this.
Thank you. How then, if our voice is naturally high, and I'm fortunate mine is not, but if our voice is naturally high, how do we, do we have to change it? Or can we just take what we have and just make it more strong?
Absolutely. But that brings up an exercise called finding the hub of a voice. Finding the hub of my voice. In any given room I'm in at any given moment, I'll do something like this. My lips are gently together, and a little air will come out my nostrils first because I'm going to hum, and it's very slow, and it's exceedingly nasal. I'm going to do this, and you're going to see my hand soar in the diagonal of what in vocal awareness is described as an arc. Listen. When I'm done, I'm going to speak from where that pitch ends up. When I speak, I need to be aware. And in our given voice, in that given moment, that's our optimal pitch level. Do that with me, Phil, if you'd like. Stature first. And guide with your hand slowly. Put your hand up by your mouth. Fingers together. And it's going to go in the parabola of an arc, like the plane taking off. Just like that, exactly. Here we go again. Now, in the sentence is, when I speak, I need to be aware. In 3, 2, we're going to hum. And now the sentence. Hand down. Let's start the hand again. In 3, hand here. 2, and the sentence.
When I speak, I need to be aware.
You feel and hear the difference?
I do.
Gives you a way to ground your voice.
Very interesting. Very different.
Thank you. Also, the reason that this breathing is so important on so many levels, the root of the word spirit, spiritus, means to breathe. The Hebrew word neshama means both soul and breath. A breath in real time isn't just physical, it's also emotional. When we're amped, when we're nervous, we're going to hyperventilate. We're going to hold our breath. So breath in vocal awareness is strategic. We mentioned off camera that I'm coming to Orlando next week to work with a Hall of Fame golfer, 3-time Masters champion. And we were having a phone lesson today and equating our breath with his breath for his putt. Equating what I call the edge and arc of sound with the parabola of his tee shot. Because that's the direction of the tee shot. It's not to the last row of the house, it's not that. It's an arc. And it made total sense to him. So here, we're learning to make voice visual. I'm a singer. I look at music and it tells me everything. So there's a whole program, this offering that I'm made available to your team, Visual Voice Pro, is a trademark piece of vocal awareness called Visceral language. What word was just underlined? What two words?
Visceral
and language.
Okay.
And so I teach us how to see words. Because in that 8%, only 8% is language-based, I'm now subliminally influencing you. Pay attention to this. I'm not going to get all the other stuff, but hold on to this one. So in my copy, I'm going to underline those words. In my keynote, I'm going to underline those words, and I'm going to practice delivering on them.
Wow. Wow. That's super interesting. And that's also, it's fascinating that athletes are the ones that you're talking about the most, because if I didn't think about it, I would think they communicate the least. But they need the breath. They need the control. They need the mindfulness, the awareness, because they're already the best athlete.
I've heard from several of my NFL clients, Nick Foles, who played lights out against New England 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. And his team played lights out. In the huddle, the backup quarterback literally more than once said to the team, "I love you guys." A football player in a huddle. And they played like he did. And they played for him as though they did in return love him. They gave it everything. This is my 54th year of vocal awareness. My vision is to change the world through voice. I just launched this past January with my birthday, first ever certification course in vocal awareness to train people, because this is my legacy time. When you mention the athletes, and people ever go to my website and see there are a lot of superstar names besides the ones you mentioned at the top of the call. But there are also, Commissioner Goodell wrote the foreword for my last book, The Commissioner of the National Football League. And I train Deloitte and E&Y and the Federal Reserve Bank, and one of my clients is now a U.S. Senator, and ... They all have one thing in common: vocal awareness. And so this is the glue that sticks it all together. And it's a paradigm shift in communication. And I know I probably overstayed my welcome because I just looked at my watch, but you are so generous and creative, and it's just fun.
Thank you. Well, you haven't overstayed your welcome, Arthur, so please don't worry about that. If you had, I would have found a way to cut you off. So don't worry. I do have a little bit of control here. So cool. So but it is fascinating to me. This is the first time that I've been aware of voice, at least as much. I mean, I've been through some training. I've gotten to heroic public speaking with Michael and Amy Port and their wonderful team, and I was in choir for a time. But this is very interesting. This is something different that I haven't thought of as much, and so I'm appreciative of the time you're giving me, as you are to me. So thank you.
And as you, in that 1 minute of your narrative, there wasn't one nanosecond of it where you are not tuned in to yourself, which is also a first in that way. And I'm pointing it out because the 6 of the 7 rituals is pay attention, deeper listening, and vocal awareness. We pay attention out here, but we listen deeply interiorly. Again, I want you in charge, not just of the message, but the messenger. Integrity, integration have the same root source. They mean wholeness. I want the gestalt of you to show up everywhere. And be the size of the man you are. years ago when I was training Warren Sapp, who was a Hall of Fame tackle in the NFL. We were having a lesson one day, and I said, Warren, I trained him at this point, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 years. And I said, Warren, I need you to be big. No, Warren, I need you to be gigantic. And so he pushes back, giving me all the stereotypical reasons as to why he shouldn't do that. And I said, Warren, I've earned your trust. I need you to be gigantic. So in that lesson, we started bringing it in our exercises, doing things like, one of the vocal awareness exercises. You don't do one thing as an athlete or an artist without having warmed up, stretching, but you never warm up your voice as a professional voice user in your life. We just walk out and we talk, or we do blah, 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 or some nonsense, but we don't warm up our chops, but we do in vocal awareness. And so I have a wonderful video, and I'll come back to Warren. Well, I'll finish Warren and remind me about the school video. And so Warren comes up to me a few weeks later. I'm walking down the hall at the NFL Network. They're one of my clients. And he said, Arthur, you know, I like my 40 feet around me. Now they're coming closer. And the point was that they were getting more authenticity because they heard all of Warren, not just the broadcaster Warren being hip and edgy. And it made change the resonance, the quality, the timbre, everything. So I usually go to the Super Bowl. I was there this year with my team, but I wasn't there the year before. So I wake up on Super Bowl Sunday and there's a text with Michael Irvin, Kurt Warner, and Steve Mariucci saying, "You ready, boys?" Doing our warm-up, because on Sundays at 5 a.m., beginning with Kurt, because they go live at 6 out here in LA on game day morning, that's how the warm-up begins. And so it's a sweet homage, just sending this out over the internet ethos. It was really sweet, but I've got it for posterity. So anyway.
That is super cool. That is super cool. So Arthur, people will want to go deeper with this. There's a lot there. So tell us a little bit about, you put together a nice page for us that people can get to, and we'll drop a link there, vocalawareness.com/Phil. But what's there, Arthur? Why should people go there?
Because they will discover work that will help them change their lives. When I say voice is power, voice is also earning power. The more effective you become at communicating, the more compelling you are embodying your message, the more it returns to you in myriad ways. That's one. Very pragmatic reason. Two, I teach empowerment through voice. There have only been 2 people on this planet, 1, maybe 2, that I've ever taught that had zero fear about being who they are. One was Arnold Schwarzenegger, the other was Sylvester Stallone. And teach me. Whatever's going to make me, I'm going for it. But most of us are not that blessed. So this work will help you discover how to be the very best you can be. So in the Visual Voice Pro program, you will learn visceral language. You will learn these breathing techniques, this vocal warm-up technique, etc. Visceral language will change the game. It's already impacting you, and I haven't even taught it to you yet, but you're listening differently, and that's control. And people often want to write me so they can write to support, but my team will always forward me every email, and if somebody wants me to respond, I will respond personally. So, and also with this offering, I believe we decided to offer a 50% discount, which I don't, I choose to do lightly. I chose to do it because it's your team, and I want to help them be their best. So that's what they're going to get.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Arthur, first, thank you for the gifts that you've given us today. There's a lot.
Platform.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And secondly, folks, check this out. Like, go to vocalawareness.com/Phil. Give Arthur a spin. check out what he's about. If you enjoyed today, let him know. Let me know. Drop me a note. I'll pass it along as well. But Arthur, I'm very grateful. Very, very grateful. Have it written down. I really did. You know, I did what I said.
No, you don't have to tell me that. Why don't you have to tell me that?
Well, integrity is, you know, part of who I am and being integral.
But you don't have to, because I already knew that. But you did that because we want to make sure I got it. It was for me, not for yourself. So
True.
I appreciate your respect, but we want to own that. So does that make pragmatic sense in an odd sort of way?
It does.
You would never not do it. You would never not do it and tell me you did, is the point.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I already got you, or I wouldn't have asked you to do that.
Fantastic. Well, folks, not only does Arthur have a great offer on his page, but he's also got some great books that you can pick up and a lot that you can learn. Again, Arthur, Joseph, I'm grateful for you, my friend. Thank you for your time today. Good stuff.
It's been my privilege. Thank you very much, Phil. God bless.
Thank you.